This is amazing. Get here late and 1 minute early. Hi, my name's Dave Chronister. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the talk. I get to talk all around the world, and all of us speakers, I don't care who we are, always have that fear of we're going to have that talk with absolutely no one in it. So, thank you. Real quick, this is called Give Me Your Data, Pilfering, Grabbing Data Without Breaking In. An hour ago, I found a new technique. Apparently, if you go to the Waffle House in New Albany, Indiana, they leave credit cards on the parking lot. So, add that to the addendum. We are ethical. We did not buy breakfast with her, but we're going to tear it up. All right. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Well, then let's get this party started. All right, a little bit about me. I'm a geek. I've been, just for us older farts in here, 6 years old. I got started TI 99.4A. Some of you can read about these in history, right? When I was 8 years old, my dad drove us to the local Radio Shack. Got a Tandy 1000 EX with the external 3.5-inch disc and 300 pod modem. And I got into BBSing, and I loved it. Now, my two passions growing up were technology and guitars, because you can have your guitar while you sit in the basement forever. Going through this, dealt a lot with hacking. I should mention my dad was a St. Louis County cop, 6'3", 270 pounds, and my mom was a church secretary, and there was always a loaded gun, so I kind of had God and guns going, you do something, we're going to shoot you. Okay, so after high school, I did not go to college, which is a whole nother talk, but after high school, I decided I will take the good route, try to become a professional musician. You know what the difference between a professional musician and a large pizza is? A large pizza can feed a family of 4. I was actually thin for about 6 months. Got into IT in the 90s, system administrator, all that. 8 years ago, my wife and I we were drunk on December 24th. We always have a bullshit story, but this is the real story. Drunk on December 24th, going, we hate our jobs. What should we do? I was the vice president of a banking company, and I said for IT, I said, I can't find crap for hackers. And we're like, we should be hackers, and we quit our jobs. And the economy went to crap, and somehow 10 years later, we're still here. So, I am a security practitioner. I'm always a little intimidated coming up and talking because, even like the shell shock, when we were driving here from St. Louis, we're just like, Ben, one of my guys was just twittering, the Twitter feed, and you're just like, man, these guys, they can do this. I'm like, we don't have time. Everything I talk about is stuff I actually have found. This is not hypothetical in a lab. This is actually the first talk I ever devised before I started looking at it. So if you have questions, I'm not going to give you stuff that says, well, hypothetically this works. This is stuff I am seeing out there. Like I mentioned, we're ethical hackers. I mean, what's better in life than working above a bar, wearing shorts every day with your dogs, and just being able to say, I get to be a kid for a living, and write a bunch of crappy reports. We also do forensics. I put this in. This is important. 42 states of the union. If you are doing forensics, or if someone is doing forensics, and they are not a licensed PI, they are committing a felony. In the state of Missouri, it's 1 year in jail. Why do I mention this? Who here deals with PFIs? Anybody know what PFI is? PCI? Anybody here deal with PCI? Okay. Understand that if you ever get breached, you have to deal with a PFI. And we can all figure out who these companies are. Not a single one of them have any PI licenses in any state, which means not only are they committing felonies, it means any evidence they use is not held up in the court of law. Make sure that you have this. And then finally, an instructor. We have, is anybody here under 18? Okay, one. Okay, this is going to be a PG-13. I could make it a XXX, but what I do have for you, I have a Hacker U hat. So at the parts where I tell you to, cover your head with this. So you guys can pass that back. I have a couple extra too. When I started this, again, we started as hackers, and I have to come clean. This is like AA for hackers. I'm a former EC Council CEI, okay? It paid the bills. I'm sorry, I had to do it. It paid the bills. But the thing is I always hated boot camps. I'm like, the teacher knows everything about the book, but you go, hey, how do you do this in real life? And they're like, oh, no, I'm going to go teach a word class. So the other owner of my company is my wife, my boss, right? We all know that. And she's like, well, just do it the way you do it. So we do Hacker U. We still do some cert classes, but we don't do it the same way. We're creating our own. 2015, let's all face it, certifications are boring. Let's, as a community, start building training that teaches you stuff, novel concept. So that's what we do. Like I said, founder, parameter, security. My boss is my wife, so she's a short little redhead like this, has no soul. She's a ginger, and she's very loud. That's why she's not here. She would talk over everybody. And the best part is I don't have to fix stuff anymore. I go, here's your crap, you're done. I spent way too many years in tech support, but we can say it's unbiased. All right, well, let's start with the best slide in history, data loss, right? We all have seen this. We know what this means. I just want to go into like executive talks and just, go, men, ladies, you see the problem, now fix it, and walk off like a boss, What does this tell us? Jack shit. Really? But here's the problem. People use this. I mean, real quick, it looks like breaches aren't that bad. We all know it's not getting worse. We just know people are getting better at detecting it. And we know, FBI did a survey 10 years ago. 1% to 2% aren't actually breaches, or breaches are actually detected. That raises that number up. And what exactly is a breach? For years, I always said, I'm more worried about Trojan than anything. I had people go, hey, we want you to talk about something new. Target came out, and, I'm like sitting there wanting to go, yeah, what did they use? Malware. But they won't talk about it. Because what are hackers after? Anybody? For a hat. What? Data! Who was that? I don't watch, sorry. That's why I don't play baseball. That was horrible. I don't watch a lot of news, but I don't remember the time whoever the leader of the hackers said, today we're going after data. I don't remember that happening. Sun Tzu says the art of war is based on deception. When you're far away, pretend like you're near. When you're near, pretend like you're far away. Okay. If that's what you really think people are dealing with, that they want PII, I think there's a couple actresses last week that would disagree with us now. Not that some of us really mind. Not me, I'm just saying some people in here. I'm looking at certain people, you. Here's the thing. Data is important, data is not everything. So let's just figure it out right now. Data is not secure. Can we all agree with that? And I really just hate doing talks on data, but that's all people want to talk about. PII, PHI, Okay, so if that's the case, I said, okay, I'll play that game. Let's see how we can, if everybody's concerned about data, we know it's not secure. How insecure is it? How can we actually get the information? And that was the genesis of this talk. A good friend of mine is talking tomorrow at 1. His name's Paul Coggin. I call this guy Mr. IP. The dude, when he starts talking, from Huntsville, so he's got he talks like this, and he's like, Dave, tell you what. But he'll start talking about routers, and like in 2 seconds, I think he's speaking another language. But the problem with him is he submits everywhere. And I got jealous one night. I got drunk, and I submitted this call for papers everywhere. And I got accepted, and I hadn't done the research yet. So I was like, oh crap, let's hope this turns out good. So really quickly, I turned to where can I obtain sensitive data? Did anybody think it was dumpster diving? Someone was going to bet, a good friend of mine, that was dumpster diving. Did they take that bet? They take that bet for? Oh no, okay. I was like, yeah, get some money from them. I got a credit card, we'll put it on. So can we actually obtain sensitive data without actually breaching access controls? Are we so screwed out there, I don't even need to hack anymore? So what were the areas I came up with? One of these is one that we've heard about all the time, purchasing old hardware. You hear about this all the time, but I go, I don't know anybody that's actually done it. So I'm going to go do this. I'm going to purchase hardware.
I've done it inadvertently.
Oh, you've done it inadvertently, yeah? Social media sites. We'll actually talk about this. I'm not talking about Facebook, okay? And then at the bank and dealing with a lot of companies, they're like, we have FTP servers. I'm like, these people are they don't even know what FTP is, and there's no S in front or after. I wonder just how many people are actually running FTP servers out there. So screw it. Let's look at FTP servers. So these are the 3 areas we're going to look at. Now first, warning, and I took a photo of everyone, and I have enhanced it using my Jack Bauer phone, put it to my socket. I know who you are. This is a demonstration. This is not a manual for criminal behavior, okay? The obfuscation of all the data, you'll actually see just this really professional smudge on the stuff. That was done by me, okay? When possible, I contacted the data owners. Talk about awkward. The first one was a person on Facebook, and I go, hi, you don't know me, but I got all your data. And then I tried to make it better. I go, I'm actually an ethical hacker. I've been on CNN. Then I realized, people that are usually on the news, none of us trust anyway. So we're screwed. So I actually quit contacting because I got too much information. I have a day job. I have a business to run. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people. And there's a reason I put this up, because you guys will start doing this before the talk's over. The identity of the owners have been hidden to protect the security impaired. Okay, so what do we do with hardware? Anybody here ever deal with FTK Imager or create a physical image? Okay, this is easy for you. I always like to dumb this down because I need stuff dumbed down to me. So we're going to get everybody on the same level. First thing I'm going to do is create a forensic image. What this means, this isn't like a ghost image, right? You have a terabyte drive and you have 500 gig of data. Ghost, you'll have like about 500 gig drive image. A forensic image is a bit by bit. You have a terabyte drive, you have a terabyte image. It's capturing the slack space, the unused space, all of that. Remember, I always think of a hard drive as a book, and everything is indexed, in the index. When we delete something, we do not rip that page out, we remove the index, okay? So the data is not always gone. So what I would do is I'd create a forensic image. I then would data carve. Data carving is nothing more than going in and reassembling files, okay? So that whole, I deleted it. No, you didn't. Here it is. Well, you deleted it, but it's still there. And like the underwear gnomes, can we profit from it? So the people I targeted, I went on eBay and I targeted I targeted individuals that are selling high-end and selling a lot of equipment. IT employees that are, we're not using this anymore, I'm going to sell it on eBay. These were the people I was targeting. Which first, what do you do with your end of life hardware? If it magically disappears, you may go ask your IT person where he bought that new car or how he did. We did 2 rounds of purchases. Now in the second round, I included hardware resellers. I didn't at the beginning because I made an assumption. In St. Louis, we have a company called EPC, good friends of ours, and they have the coolest thing. They have a hard drive shredder on a truck, okay? And it's cool. I bought hard drives just to shred it. You know, they power it up, you throw it in, sparks come out, and it's little pieces like this. And I'm like, can I do it again? Can I do it again? And I'm like, Dave, get off the truck and leave our property. So I didn't look at them, but the second round I did it, okay? I also bought, so I ended up buying 2 iPhones and 9 hard drives. Now, here's the thing. Phones do not decrease in value very much. I was getting old hard drives. I bought some IDE hard drives. I had to go find an IDE cable from back in the closet. Total cost, $50 for the iPhones, $120 for the hard drive. Again, my boss is my wife. She has the money, so I didn't get to do much of this. Now, what were the results? I always hate saying this at cons. I hate Apple. Okay, I'm just not a big fan. I literally had one day in the 90s, Steve Jobs, when I was working at a marketing company, Steve Jobs called my boss and got pissed at us because we were running his server on an IIS server. It wasn't even my fault. I was just the system admin. So I don't like him for that. I don't like proprietary, and I don't like a company that lies about security. Okay, I don't like them. Love me or hate me, that's how Apple people are. Unfortunately, the iPhones, the one good thing they do from a security standpoint is they zero out when they factory reset the memory. This is a pain in the ass for us forensic investigators, but it's kind of good for you. Okay, so I really just bought 2 phones. When I'm mad at home, I just yell at them. I just put them on my bed and yell at them. I go, I hate you, iPhone, and then my wife comes in and gives me my meds. Now, as far as hard drives zeroed out, really what we do when we forensically clean a drive, we put zeros in every spot. And if you want to get really crazy, then you put random data in. Then you zero, then you put random data. And you always hear this thing about, well, we can go 8 levels deep to get it. If you have an electron microscope, okay, and I don't by chance have one of those, twice is good enough. One's really good, but at the end of the day, just destroy the damn thing, okay? There's no way people can reassemble it. Now, how many of my 9 drives were zeroed out? 1. And it was a high school student in Texas. Go Texas. There's going to be a photo going, Dave Chronister was talking about Satanism. So, now, how many of these were repartitioned with artifacts? Meaning, they just went in and they got rid of the partitions. Realize that doesn't do much, right? The data's still there. And in fact, I can just recreate the partition. There were 7 of those, okay? 5 of them were what we call floor model OSs. And what I mean here is they look like they were the stock drives that came in, and maybe they upgraded the drives, swapped those out maybe for the existing drives. It was just a clean image from like Dell or IBM, or something like that. We had one from the University of so-and-so. I assume it was a library hard drive because it was full of term paper, porn, and malware galore. No. Close that folder. And then we had another one that was office equipment. It was a 3-letter big blue chip company. We won't mention their names, and it was all of they get a lot of time off. It was an HR. There's a lot of service logs and time off request. So that's the first 8 drives. Now, the 9th drive. And I'm like, well, okay, this is kind of what I expected. Never won the lottery, so about par. Now, this is what FTK Imager looks like. And even if you're not in forensics, learn this. Learn about hard drive blockers. You need to know this. This is a free tool. This will save your ass. Real quick, a bonus, not only the credit card for anybody that can answer this one. When any employee leaves, create a forensic image of their drive and keep it for 2 years. Every incident I deal with, the person has usually left on good terms. I did deal with the one where the Chinese national left in the middle of the night, and they didn't think that was really weird until a year later, but always forensic image. Okay, this is what FTK Imager looks like. Okay, you go in, pop it in your right blocker, bring it up. Now, shows the physical drive, and then what I would do real quick, to tell if it's zeroed out, you can literally just scroll right through, and if you see anything but dots, there's data on there. Okay, just a real quick, easy thing to do. Then what I would do is I would start to data carve. Okay, however, this one was kind of strange because I had a plus sign, which meant I had partitions. Cool. I already have partitions. Let's look in these. What do we have? Well, that kind of looks like a C drive. Kind of moving out of your way here. Sorry. I like the shirt, by the way. That's awesome. Well, that's kind of wild. Now, I bought this one from a reseller, okay, just so you know. Now, I start looking through here. Purchased from reseller. I did data carving, but I wanted to see what kind of data was on there beforehand. So I threw it in an FTK and started looking through, and this lovely lady showed up, okay? And so did her certificate of birth and her social security number, her dad's social security number, certificate of birth. I'm like, under 18, close your ears. What assholes? You know, these people are reselling the information. Then I start looking a little bit more. I start realizing, why would someone like, not to stereotype, but why would a person like this have these oh my God, it hit me. She's the reseller, okay? Login info and keys. Free shit from Tanya, that's her name. Greatest lesbian movies, I kept that one, if anybody wants to watch. Lenovo repairs. I looked this lady up. Think about this. She is the hardware reseller. She is in a state known for crawfish. Her company is a government contractor to resell government equipment, and she sold me her own damn hard drive without doing anything on it. Let that sink in. This is the least craziest thing I'm going to show you today. I'm telling you, this stuff is addicting. Have you ever seen anything like this with refurbishers? Refurbishers, I really haven't. But I'll be quite honest. Like I said, I don't really ever do these proactive talks. But, you know, somehow someone in Iran ends up with Apache, you know, blueprints on an iPod. I know this stuff's out there. And let's all face it, at some point, all of us were ignorant of this at some point in our career. We all did this at some point. But it's 2014, for crying out loud, right? Purchased from the reseller. It wasn't formatted, wasn't even unpartitioned. It was her own system. Her own system, right? Now, my conclusion was, this is promising, but it's like going to a casino. I really think phones would be more fruitful, but again, they are expensive because, especially in the third world countries, they will buy these older phones. Okay, but the question I have for you is, how do you handle end-of-life media? You know? Yeah, get a hard drive shredder. It's awesome. The other thing you need is a sledgehammer. Office space it. We used to do that at the bank. It really doesn't destroy data, but it's very, very good for the soul. Okay? Especially when you do it in a client parking lot. So, again, data's cheap. I mean, anybody been in here since the 90s in IT? Us? Okay. Do you remember the day that you go, oh my God, I remember the day I go, oh my God, I have a hard drive, but the days where you're like, oh my God, I have a gig I only paid $700 for this. We're like, we can put all the company data on there now. And now you're like, a gig? That's not even going to hold my last Archer episode, you know? It's cheap. Destroy it. There is nothing anybody can do to reassemble. It's not like, you know, the shredded papers in Iran in the 70s. You take apart a hard drive, you're going to have a really hard time even getting it back synchronized right. You shred that mother into little pieces. If someone gets that data, they deserve it. Okay? We all agree on that? All right. Now, the other one, the next part is the social media site. And I decided I wanted to start looking at social sharing sites. Facebook, you know, when I teach footprinting, everybody always goes straight to Facebook and LinkedIn, right? And you just go, you know, guys, we're getting a little lazy. And then what do? I go straight to Facebook. And then if it gets harder, I tell my hackers, I go do this. I got boss things to do, you know. But there's other things out there. So the one I looked at was PhotoBucket. Anybody here use PhotoBucket? Don't raise your hand, but have your phone handy. Now, why I chose PhotoBucket. PhotoBucket has a feature called Recent Uploads. And what it will actually do is it will actually show you photos people have recently uploaded. Now, why is this important? The recent uploads are open photos, okay? Open buckets, as they call it. They have an app. Like I use Dropbox, right? And it goes to Dropbox. Unlike Dropbox, the photos get uploaded automatically. By default, those buckets are open. Yeah. Now, and this is what it would look like. Now, basically, all you're going to look for, and there's 18 pages of photos, 18 pages of videos. I'm going to tell you, I spent, I think, like 8 hours. In reality, probably 3 months of my life this year has gone away because you just get F5, 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 refresh. What can we find today? It gets addicting. Now, before you pull out your computer, start doing this, I'm going to tell you, and under 18, this is where the hat goes. Yes, I found stuff like this. Could be very X-rated, okay? Apparently, every female in the world twerks. I found that out. We're on to you, ladies. Also, if you're pregnant, apparently it's mandatory that you take at least 700 photos of the pregnancy test stick. I guess because you need you did that, didn't you? Okay. But before you start browsing, I also found this guy. Okay. Yeah. I have seen in forensics, I've seen clients do stuff that I have a perverted mind. In my most perverted mind, I would never imagine. This image is one of those that just burns into your skull. And because I have to deal with it, you do now too. So thank you for attending DerbyCon. You go home with memories. I also found this. Apparently, if you grow weed, you have to show it off. This dude was awesome. He had a huge garden indoors. He's in Los Angeles. How do I know he's in Los Angeles? Because he also took a photo of his welfare application. And I know some people at LAPD, I'm like, hey, you'd like this. Apparently, if you got weed, you also got to show tons of money. So just so you guys know, or just the money, or, you know, beer and money, or babies and money. So you start to learn a lot about the human psyche when you see the stuff that they're uploading that they don't think that you're uploading. But I also found stuff like this. Right? Now you're going, Dave, okay, cool. This isn't dumpster diving, but you found it. But you know, you need that CVV number. Don't worry. He took a photo. But what about that address verification? Well, he had an order for some sort of strange erection pills, and it had his address. 3 slides. Card, CVV number, address. I go on the news and we've had breaches. And the thing that pisses me off more than anything, are there any federal cops in here? Okay. Don't record this part, mute it. All these Target breaches, that's where all this stuff's happening. I deal with this all the time. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, if it's the mafia, maybe they're dealing with tens of thousands of cards. I can pwn this guy, and good luck trying to trace it back to me. I don't think even CSI would be able to figure that out, and they figure a lot of stuff out in 23 minutes. Not to pick on just the Americans, because I do this internationally. This is some dude in Visa land in the UK. He also gave me the back of his card. Now, the hardest part about this was actually deciding what to show. Okay. There was a certain part I could not, I just had to go, okay, this is the better shot. I started turning into, my dad, before he was a cop, was a crime scene photographer, so I have looking at lifeless dead things and going, which one's the best shot? I have that in my genes. So, vendor notes, this was I think a plumber who got the client's American Express address, all the stuff, and then decided I better take a photo of this in case I lose that paper. Anybody do that whole go to a bank that goes, just click your check and you can send it? Tons of checks. This one was interesting because I go, Michael Moore. I'm not a liberal, so I just had to go, oh my God, I got Michael Moore. And I realized it's a different Michael Moore because of his passport. And I will tell you with this guy, I'm saving you guys the carpet matches, the drapes. And it's very shag carpeting. You couldn't tell with the teddy bears that he had there. Family relationships. Apparently people like to take IRS stuff. So this is the dependents, Abigail, Aylin, Angel, and you notice I didn't cut it off. I go, crap, they don't have the last four, doesn't help me. Don't worry, he took another photo to get that. All right? This is a freaking website. Why are we even going to worry about hacking? Right? My coup d'etat was this one. Money, credit cards, checks. I think there's drugs in there. If I had some chick twerking, it would encapsulate everything. Okay? So I decided, can I target someone? Okay, so my target number one was this lady. NYPD's finest. And I had to laugh because the first photo in her photo bucket was, don't judge me. I was born to be true, not perfect. And then there's her social security number. This is kind of funny to me. There's her W-2. And this is the one I actually contacted. I found this is the first one I contacted, and she was an actress. I figured out with the W-2. And I go on her public Facebook site, and I'm like, you don't know who I am, but you're uploading all your stuff, and didn't hear anything for 6 months. And then I got a note back, and in my head it went, oh my God, thank you. And that was it. That was probably the most positive result I got. Now, target number two. Anybody work for the government? Anybody have a cat card? I know everybody in the government's like, I'm not allowed to tell you, but I'm the clean-shaven with the buzzed haircut people, but we're not allowed to tell. Crap. Hi, boss. I'm actually doing my talk right now. Can everybody say hi to her? No, I'm not kidding. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Even in a talk, when the boss calls, you answer. I had to thank Dave and Adrian. My wife's dad's 70th birthday's today, and she's like, under no conditions are you coming. Then they go, you're speaking. She goes, okay, you're coming. Anybody here ever deal with a cat card? Do you know? Okay, is it legal to reproduce a cat card? Okay, that's big to know because even banks don't know that. Well, thankfully, this couple didn't know that. That's their cat cards. Okay. They also gave me their getting into their college. I'm not a big fan of college, so I'm like, okay, whatever. But they did give me their email addresses and passwords. This guy, I felt so sorry for this dude. I just expect one day these people to actually be in my talk and be like, hey, you didn't get my permission. She likes to take photos of him by ripping the shower curtain off, because half of the photos are of him like this. And I'm like, that's just a whole nother concept we're not even going to discuss here. So, the results. In about 8 hours, and I'm basing low on this. Credit card numbers, 10. Now I'm talking numbers, CVV, everything, 10. Social Security numbers, 16. Login information, about 30. Also business info, trade secrets. Lots of people to memorize stuff are taking photos. Okay? This is the path of least resistant right now. So, well, actually it's not. Total time spent, about 8 hours. Conclusion, it was very easy, no cost, no way to automate, really. Now, I said this, and anybody know who John Matherly is? Shodan. So we do a con, Show Me Con in St. Louis, and we had Shodan. And afterwards, this dude is just a great guy. But afterwards, he came in and he met me and back, and he goes, no, there's some stuff that you can automate this. I'm like, yeah, I know. It can probably be automated. He goes, no, you're going to automate this. Okay, John, I can't program, but I'll automate this just for you, sir. So you could, use some of the tools out there that detect flesh tones, detect rectangles. They have an API. Do it. Free to the world. Just buy me a beer if you do it. Takes the creepiness out of it a bit. I have a buddy of mine. His name's Vaden Willis. And contrary to what you think, he is a 6'5", 300-pound white guy from Oklahoma. Big dude. We call him corn-fed, right? And he learned this, and he goes, dude, I figured out how I can kill someone. I can hunt them down and kill them. I'm like, okay, you've taken this to a whole new level. Let's re-talk our friendships. So the question I have from you is, how do you control PIC leakage? That's the big thing here. DLP is great, but BYOD with DLP, not so much, right? So the company I talked about, the Chinese National, they literally called us up and said, FBI told us that the Chinese stole all our information. I'm like, well, problem number one is the FBI let it happen, but we won't go there. But I called them up, and they go, all right, we go there, and they go, it's kind of strange that our head researcher from China literally left in the middle of the night last year. That may have been a warning. You think? And I go, do you guys let phones? Oh, yeah, they use their phones. Click, 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 click. How do you control all of that? I love my phone. We're a hacking firm. We deal with BYOD problems. I don't want to be carrying 5 or 6 phones. But what do you do to keep people from doing stuff? No sensitive data goes on our phones. Hey, that's a great idea, right? Certain parts of our building, phones are not allowed. After parties, happy hours, phones are not allowed. That helps. So be very careful with that. This is one area people don't even think about. And if you're using PhotoBucket, or someone you know is using PhotoBucket, tell them to close it. And yeah, it may be that girl you liked in high school. You can search, but then close it, okay? Creepy story. When I started looking for this, I found one of people I graduated with was a prostitute through college. That was the most awkward conversation I had, because I had to say, I don't think it's you, though, there's not too many people that look like you, and have the exact same strange handle for the hooker name and for your PhotoBucket name, but you may want to close that. That's a good question. How many pictures had GPS information? All the EXIF data stripped out of PhotoBucket. Okay? But let's talk at the last one. I got to this point, I go, good. I got a good talk. I'm fine. If everything else goes to crap, I can at least go into a talk, and at least someone will go, cool. Okay, so then I started looking at FTP sites. Now, what I used was Metasploit FTP Anonymous Scanner. a good friend of mine kept going, dude, you use Nmap. The reason I don't like to use Nmap is because Nmap, if the site does not have an FTP site, it's going to log it. Those logs very quickly become very, very, very large. FTP Anonymous Scanner, which is built in, will actually go in and only show the ones that are open. Okay. Now, typical finding, I started going through, and I started seeing stuff like this, right? Music, movies, right? This dude had Daryl and Captain Ron. I just wanted to leave him a note, be like, your stuff's out there, but good choice, good choice for me, he's good. But then I started seeing weird stuff like this. QuickBooks. What? Right? Recycle bin. That's not right. Okay? And let's face it, there's a lot of people in IT that don't even know what FTP is, let alone some of these people that don't even know what a folder is. They're sharing stuff. And I started to see trends forming. Now, this was January of this year. One of the ones I kept seeing was this: welcome to ASUS, RT, blah, 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 blah. It was this. All right. And what you can do is it has built-in cloud. You plug a drive in, it creates a NAS, and by default, if you have UPnP, it creates an anonymous FTP site out to the internet. This was awesome. I found this 5 days before B-Side San Francisco. I'm on the phone with my PR guy. I'm like, I think we found a 0 day. This is great. The dude in the Green Lantern shirt, you'll see him because he's the only one that will wear a Green Lantern shirt in the entire con. I call him Downer Ben because I'm getting all excited. I'm doing backflips, and he sends me this. Are you kidding me? Someone just released this. Okay. Now, to this guy's credit, he held on to it for 8 months. And ASUS said, no, that's not a bug. That's a configuration. Okay? But that wasn't all. Now, what did we find? This is the point where I would love to be able to show you all the stuff we found. But the problem with the way the laws are built right now, if I show you an FTP in detail, I'm breaking the law. In the United States only. Everywhere else, I'm fine. So my lawyer said, I cannot show you this stuff. He actually goes, dude, don't be an idiot. So I'll tell you what I found. Financial information galore. Okay. Unencrypted backups everywhere, because most of these have backup software built in. Medical records, PHI. There was a psychiatrist in Boston that every one of his psychological profiles of his patients were on the internet. Intellectual property. So I have to tell you, I'm only telling this. I haven't told anybody else in this group besides this group and YouTube now. I'm still scanning, and last week I did find the sex tape of a major executive in a car company and his mail order bride. That was an awkward conversation. Intellectual property, yeah, is one. And one of the things I found? Employees take data home because they want to keep it for resume stuff. Passwords galore. I use the name passwords galore because someone named his things passwords galore, and I go, that it embodies it. There was a large bank in America that's around everywhere that their main architect had a spreadsheet of all of their router passwords and their entire Visio document. And fortunately, I was able to find him because his green card and all his information was on there, and I called the guy up, and I'm like, hey, I'm a hacker, I found this stuff, and he was just silent. He was, well, thanks. So there's a lot of it out there. Political information, found one that was for a major mayor in the United States. Also, interestingly enough, made some major CPACs. Interestingly enough, in the state of New Jersey, they have on their voter rolls active voters that were born in 1870. So if you're in New Jersey, you have a very clean political system. In a nutshell, I found everything. Everything. Let's face it. These people don't even know what FTP is. And I was at a B-Sides a couple weeks ago, and I did this, and they said, this kid goes, yeah, but we want to talk about companies. This is personal stuff. I go, you have to realize 99% of all companies are not big corporations. Their IT is Walmart and Best Buy and Amazon. They don't even know what this stuff does, but they have the exact same information. 50 of these will get me the information as a single hacker that I need, and it's a lot less dangerous than hacking in. Okay? Now, ASIS is not alone. And last week, just finally, we notified all these people. We gave them 8 months, like this other gentleman did, and they never responded. So, the other companies that have this issue, Netgear, Cloudbox, Linksys, Cisco, okay? Now, to their credit, for example, in Cloudbox, it doesn't automatically create it. You have to click a button that says share with others. And then it automatically creates an FTP site, UPnP. No one mentions FTP. People that say, think about the people that we're dealing with here. You say your FTP site's open, they're probably looking at their zipper. They're like, we don't know what you're talking about. It's all out there. Now, I'm not the only one that knows this. There was people that were I saw a lot of folders that were like AB, 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 and what they were doing is they were running scripts to see what was writable, okay? The other thing too is a lot of these I saw were read-only but had stuff. I'm actually doing a search right now looking for root, password, admin, root, or admin password. And I'm hitting Canada right now, and I've probably got about, I don't know, maybe 800-900 hits, and that's just in the past week, okay? Now, the funny thing is some people are starting to have fun with this. So going to movies. Where are my movies and music? A text file. And this guy, he's like, why is your information? He basically goes on to say, listen, I work for the Apple, Cisco, DCMIA, and we have a back door, and you shouldn't have put all your personal stuff with copyrighted material, so we deleted everything. Okay? And this one was pretty cool. National Security Agency's Domestic Inspection Notice. And I'll read this for you real quick. The National Security Agency has inspected the contents of your computer storage device for national security reasons. The data inspection is authorized under the National Patriot Act, U.S. Patriot Act, and subsequent amendments. The NSA works hard to keep us safe from our enemies, including terrorism, as a part of the global war on terrorism. As part of the counterterrorism intelligence operations, all files indicated were inspected and duplicated. Copies will be deleted from NSA servers on 2024. Thank God it's not the IRS. The NSA is unable to assist end users with backups. And then signed, Brian O'Callahan. And we're finding these all over the place. So people are having fun with this. Finally, anything else interesting? I found this one system, and someone just shared the C drive. Okay, and now it was in French. My wife is a redheaded Irish Catholic, French Canadian descent. She's trying to kill me. Okay, if I wind up dead, she killed me. It's on national news now, so or wherever, we're good. So I can't speak French, so I would like yell to her. This was all in French. I'd say, "What does this mean?" And she's like, "We don't have kids, so we just yell in the house." And she's like, "It means this." And I'm like, "What does this mean?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Just translate it for me." What really got me was agent surveillance log. That's kind of weird, right? Read-write access. Now, long story short, when we go to the hospital these days, we may pay for insurance, but we don't pay for stuff like TV and phone. In France, you may get free healthcare, but you don't get free phone and movies. So you have kiosk, and this is the server for the kiosk on the internal network with read and write access, with credit card numbers, patient health information, and a place for me to put a freaking connection. Okay? We saw a lot of these. One of the we're actually talking. We found a certain type of device no one looks at. They're building botnets out of them, and so we'll be talking about that next year. Real quick, results. Scanned, half Class A. Right now, I'm through about 5 countries, the small ones. We got about 3,000 anonymous servers, legitimate ones that were meant to be, less than 100. It's out there, and man, they just hit. This is the path of least resistance. There you go. Keep looking at your DLP. Keep looking at your firewalls. But if people are taking information home, you're SOL. All right. Just real quick, we got Show Me Con in St. Louis. We graciously stole a lot from Adrian and Dave, and they graciously let us. We're trying to do good cons, along with the likes of NOLA Con and others. If you're in St. Louis, come on out. Otherwise, if you have any questions, we have time for 2 questions. He's not paying attention. Any questions? Yes.
Have you ever concerned yourself with in-case?
Have I ever concerned myself with in-case? I've messed with in-case a little bit. I'll be honest. I own the business, and it's like, do I want to spend $30,000 more because law enforcement can't figure out FTK and I can't go on vacation? I've dealt with it. So, anybody else? Yes. Yeah, was the question a phishing engine? Oh, facial recognition. I am so ADD, and everybody goes, you have to program to be in this field. I agree, but I hire programmers, and to me, the last language I learned was Pascal. Okay, you can read about that in history books as well. You can. The other problem I have is I say I'm an ethical hacker, and this talk's kind of weird for me because it's crossing a little bit of a boundary for me. And so I'm like, this is good information I need to know, but I want to take it further. But I think there's a lot more that can be done with this. There's a lot more being done with it from the bad side. So thank you for coming to my talk. The 2 guys that had the questions, I got hats for you. I got a couple other hats. If you need a card or questions, I'll be outside. Enjoy the rest of the con.